Good evening. It really is evening. And welcome to the stream. Tonight is the night of the Game Awards. But first, I thought we could do... I got my lists together, everybody. I finally got them together. Of my favorite games of the year, and my favorite games of the decade, and a bonus favorite albums of the year. Actually, decade, not year. So, you know, we're gonna do that for like the next 40 minutes, and then Game Awards will begin, and we will be disappointed. There is bingo for the Game Awards, bit.ly/VGA bingo, and you can do that. Now, I actually worked with Google Slides. I didn't quite figure it all out, but I think I got close enough. So, this is going to be a more professional list than ever before. So, for example, there's... Well, I mean, raspberries are cool, too. They're not really related to video games, but... they're fine. Right? Alright, well, listen. This is my favorite games list of 2019. 30 minutes serves 4 to 6. And these are games that I enjoyed a lot. My top 10, in no real particular order, though I did put the ones I liked better closer to the top. So, I can only list the games that I played, and therefore, these are my favorites. So, we're gonna start with Resident Evil 2, which might be my game of the year. I really haven't determined 100% if it is, but Resident Evil 2 Remake is a really great example of how to do a remake right. Many of you knew this already. It's just such a great game that I can't not include it in the first spot. Capcom killed it. Resident Evil 4 is a favorite of mine, and they did it justice with 2. I feel like the original game, which I hadn't played until later, in the form of a mod, Resident Evil 2 Remake just was perfect. I loved it. I had a great time. Played it all the way through twice. And looking forward to Resident Evil 3 next year. Devil May Cry 5 was my first full DMC game aside from 3, and I loved it. Genuinely loved it. This probably was my number 2. Again, I'm not listing numbers because I didn't want to necessarily, I didn't want to give specific ranks because there were so many good games this year. So you could say DMC was my number 2, maybe. My slideshow is the best slideshow ever that I made today, at least. So yeah, Resident Evil, Capcom had my 2 favorite games of the year. I enjoyed them, and they both came out in the early portion of 2019. And again, just killed it. Did great work. It made me a huge fan of DMC, or more of a fan of DMC, and affirmed my love of Resident Evil. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, ended up being a great game. I didn't like it more than Bloodborne. Sekiro is not my number 3, but it is in my top 10. Just because it was so... it was good, it was challenging, it was a lot of fun, the stream was fun. I got really into the game, and I remember some of the battles that I did in this game were great. And I just loved it. Baba Is You was one of my favorite puzzlers, maybe of the year, maybe of the past several years. Baba was great. It got really frustrating at the end, but it's one of the most clever games I've played, and I've never had... Oh cool, drop my controller, why don't you? I never had as many, like, epiphanies playing a puzzle game than when I did playing Baba Is You. Brain is melt, but when it was good, it was amazing. I loved Baba Is You. Luigi's Mansion 3, again, no particular order from here on out, but Luigi's Mansion 3 was charming, it was great. It didn't have the same atmosphere as Luigi 1, but it was a really, really good game. It was fun, everything was interactable, and Luigi was fun in it because he screamed and made weird noises, and he made facial expressions, and Egad ran like a sick motherfucker, and I really enjoyed that. Just a lot of charm, and it was a lot of fun to play, and it was one of my favorite games of the year. So Luigi's Mansion, maybe my favorite Luigi's Mansion, even though 1 did atmosphere a little bit better. Dragon Quest XIS, I did not finish this game, so little asterisk after the S, but holy fuck, I didn't expect to play a JRPG that would grip me for 60 hours. That's what I'm in. I'm at 60 hours in about, and still keep going. Like, I really love it. The improvements to the Switch version apparently were numerous, and it's just a really easy game to enjoy, and I love it. The music is great. Well, I mean, the music from Dragon Quest VIII is great. But the music in this one, it could be great too, but it's just a fantastic game with great characters, and I love it, and I'm excited to continue it. But it made my top 10. Yes, this game made my top 10. I loved it. Remember, this is all my stupid opinion, and I'm a dumb person. But I had a lot of fun playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It was the best Star Wars game that had come out in a long time, and had great music. Visuals were mostly good, aside from when Cal's face melted. A little glitchy, needed some more time in the oven, but I genuinely had a great time with it. It took from a number of different genres that I liked, and the lightsaber stuff looked good, and it was fun and satisfying. Some of the story stuff was pretty good, some of it was very silly, but overall, Jedi Fallen Order was a game that if they released like more content for the game, I'd play it. If they did a sequel, get it day one. As I've said, playing this game numerous times, I can't believe how good this game ended up being, and Respawn just did a great job with it. Mario Maker 2, especially with the new Link update and the new enemies and pieces, ended up making the list. I streamed it a lot. I loved playing it. It definitely expanded on Mario Maker 1 in a lot of meaningful ways. It still has some things missing that I would love to see in a Mario Maker 3 or in a future DLC for Mario Maker 2, but the additional pieces, the additional themes, music, courses, you name it. The 100 plus levels that Nintendo made for the game were pretty fucking solid. And now having Link in the game, it's just been a lot of fun. I really like Mario Maker 2. Dreams on PS4 is another surprise. I remember watching a video of this game at PAX East this year, and someone was like sculpting a face, and it was a really silly looking face. And then I ended up playing it, and it's like a million games in one. It has led to some of my favorite streams this year. I've laughed harder playing Dreams than most other games. And there's actually some legit content in Dreams, like real, like Monkey Ball-esque games. And I could only see it getting better from here on out. So Dreams, I just feel, is a really, I don't know, substantial game that could be even better. And there's just so much to it. I love it, and it's really ambitious. So, Dreams, good. Noita ended up being a game that I loved this year. It's in my top 10 because it took the sandbox games that I loved, the falling sand physics games, and turned it into a roguelite, rogue. I don't know what to call it anymore, chat. I give up on the genre of roguelite or roguelike. I've given up. But the game is really good. It's fun. It's challenging. It's just fun to mess around with the physics and the environments. The modding is really cool. The game gets constant updates. The developers are on top of any problems there may be. And it delivered. It was a game I was looking forward to and actually ended up being better than what I thought it would be. So I loved Noita. Here's an unrelated picture of various foodstuffs. Because I couldn't figure out the program. Here's some honorable mentions, because there were a lot of good games that came out this year. That was my top 10. But here are other games I really enjoyed. Bloodstained, while not Symphony of the Night, was still great. And it scratched the itch, as I said. Loved Bloodstained. Had some problems. Hypnospace Outlaw was amazing. And it was really short, and it was a limited thing, but I loved it, and it was fun, and the stream was good, and it was, again, another ambitious, unique game that I loved. Shovel Knight King of Cards plus Showdown, it just came out, but I've been digging into the Showdown portion, and King of Cards is already really solid, so again, put an asterisk on that one. I haven't finished it, but I'm really enjoying it, and it's just good. It's good, you know? Astral Chain, platinum game, played it, had some issues with it, but I loved it once I finally figured it out. And once I really got into it, it brought me to the happy place that Platinum Games can bring you to. So Astral Chain is a really, really solid game for the Switch, and I'm glad I played it. Then you have Zelda Link's Awakening, which, you know, again, the original Link's Awakening is a top favorite game of mine, but you gotta understand, the remake had some issues, and it was a kind of unnecessary remake in some ways, but the quality of life stuff alone, aside from the cute visuals when they didn't frame, you know, slow down, the inventory stuff made the game a lot more playable, and the music was really nice, the remixes. Not one of my favorite things of the year, because again, it is a remake and it had some issues, but I loved it and I'm glad I played it. Tetris 99 is just a cool concept, handled really well. Dragon Quest Builders 2 would have made it to my top 10 had I not got burnt out on it. I felt like it dragged on at times, and there were a lot of text boxes. It was just so much reading, so much redundant storyline, so much this, so much that. It was like by the end of it, it was the power of friendship. But I got addicted to that game probably more than any other game this year for like a good 30-40 hours. It was real fun to build. It was anime Minecraft at its best. And when it was good, it was really, really good. I'd recommend it. And Cadence of Hyrule was Crypt of the Necrodancer, but, you know, Hyrule. So, good. These are just some other games that I enjoyed this year. I don't know why Dragon Quest Builders is on here as well. Same for Cadence of Hyrule. You just remove those two. So you can tell that I'm not good at this, but, just some other games that I enjoyed. Goose Game was fun. Ukulele I didn't finish again, but I enjoyed it, and then I want to play more of it. Yoshi, surprise game that ended up being pretty good. Wargroove was great, wish I played more of it. I just kind of stopped. Blaster Master I played all the way through, solid sequel. Mortal Kombat 11, Good Blood, good. And Katana Zero, and I forgot Bumbo. I forgot Legend of Bumbo, which I'd probably put here. So, again, chat, you know, it's hard to make a list to recount everything I played this year, too, because there's just so much. This year had so many good games, and it's again, I probably missed some stuff. So, sorry about that. Vinny, what about Smash and Slay the Spire? Smash came out last year, and Slay the Spire I counted for last year's list. However, Vinny, what about Blasphemous? It was on the list. I don't know where it went. Chat, I had Blasphemous on this list. I did. So we'll go ahead and throw Blasphemous in there as an honorable mention. But you can see, my top 10 are... So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Alright, and then, there you go. So that's my games of the year. Again, chat, I can only list games that I played. I didn't play Control. V-Dub played Death Stranding. I played a little bit of it, not my kind of game. And anything else that might have been great this year, I didn't, you know, I didn't play, so... So, I'll tell you what. Let me give you my favorite games of the decade. Here's my top 20, and I'm gonna go through these quick. This was a tough list to make, and I'm probably missing some, but this is like almost my entire streaming career. So, 20 games that I loved, and picturing like how many games I streamed that were like, you know, brand new when I streamed them. It's just, it boggles the mind. It's hard to recall. So if I missed something, it sucks. That sucks. But here's my favorite 20, and this was tough. Even just 20 was tough. Again, no particular order, but the one that comes to mind first is Zelda Breath of the Wild. Just watch the stream of it. I loved it. I couldn't stop playing it, and it was a long game that kept my attention. In retrospect, it's not perfect, but it's the one that grabbed my attention and held it. And was it my favorite game of the decade? I'm not sure, but I really enjoyed the fuck out of it, and I'm looking forward to, hopefully, maybe tonight at the Game Awards, a reveal for more Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Spelunky. Spelunky technically came out 2008 on PC, but the Xbox 360 version came out this decade. That's the one I played the most of. That's the one I'm counting. Spelunky endless runs of Spelunky. It is just such a good, addictive game where every time you die, it's your own damn fault. I love it, and I'm eagerly awaiting Spelunky 2. Chat, did you say...
Spelunky.
No, not that. It's Spelunky. Then there's the Binding of Isaac. Every iteration of Binding of Isaac I'm going to count on this because it is another game that I spent many hours in. I loved it, and I continue to enjoy it. I'm looking forward to the next expansion. It's addictive, it's a lot of luck, but every time you play it, it's different. And Isaac, when it came out, absorbed my life for months and months and months. So Isaac is real important to me, and I love it. Portal 2 came out this decade, and fucking dear God, I love that game. Down to the level editor and the mods. Portal 2, both funny and fun. This is a hallmark moment. I love Portal 2. Doom 2016 is one of the best shooters I played over the past 10 years. It kind of got rid of a lot of the shitty mechanics that bother me in shooters, and it just kept my attention from start to finish, just because you're just shooting and like punching, and you have to continuously move around and move forward and not just duck and wait for health to recharge. Now, I love Halo. You know, Halo Reach probably... That's this decade, right? Halo Reach? Don't get me wrong, I love Halo Reach. That should be on this list, so we'll add that later. Oh, 2010? That would be. Yeah. But Doom just did it right, and I love it. Bloodborne. Believe it or not. Bloodborne was one of my favorite games of the decade. I had no idea Bloodborne was gonna... I don't like Dark Souls that much, right? It gets me frustrated. I'm not good at it. People, you know, give me shit for that. I can't help it. I'm sure I would like Dark Souls 3, I've been told. But Dark Souls 1 frustrated me to no end. So when I got Bloodborne last year for a free download, I wasn't expecting to love it and play it all the way through, but I did. And then I played the expansion, and I really loved the fuck out of it. Probably in my top 5 of the decade if I had to list it. But here's the thing. It's one of the few games on this list that I could think about replaying at some point. And be like, oh, I could do a different kind of run. So I'm shocked I loved it as much as I did. I'm going to put Smash Ultimate here more as a representation of the Smash series, but also because Smash Ultimate is a combination of so many of the Smash Brother. You know, it kind of takes the best of a lot of the different games, and I think it's safe to say it's the best Smash Brother of the decade. What more can I say? I've streamed a lot of it. I'm going to be streaming it tonight for the Game Awards a little bit, and I love it. It's Smash. Great characters. Looking forward to more. Maybe another character tonight. Mario Maker 1 and 2. I'm going to put both of them up. I cheated a little bit with a couple games where I put 1 and 2. And I'm going to put Mario Maker 1 and 2 because they're similar. Very similar. It's just the concept of being able to edit and then download and play courses infinitely and just make your own levels. And it's done in a really good way. Mario Maker makes it, well, really easy to make levels, and it's fun to actually be in the editor and place things down. Yeah, it's great. Love it. FTL, Faster Than Light, another indie game. I streamed the fuck out of this when it came out, and I did for a long time. FTL would also probably be in my top 5 of the decade if I had to put it someplace. But if you haven't seen FTL, check it out. I don't want to explain it, but FTL is fucking really good. I'm going to put Resident Evil 2 up here because, again, as a representation of the Resident Evil franchise, like Resident Evil 7, I would probably put in my honorable mentions. I forgot that. That was a really good game. But 2 gets the formula right. It does away with some of the more difficult aspects of the series, which I don't mind. Having played Resident Evil 1 this past year, the remake, I could do the fixed camera angles, but I just love what they did with Resident Evil 2 so much that it definitely had to make my top 20. So I can't gush about the game enough, sorry. Animal Crossing New Leaf, best Animal Crossing game. I've put maybe over 150 hours in this game. It's addictive, it's really well made, it's fun, there's a lot to do. We start the decade off with a new Animal Crossing, and that's great, but there was a big update for New Leaf, like, you know, 2 years after it came out or so, something like that. And it was a great update, and it actually got me to play the game again. It almost kind of felt like a new game a little bit. There was enough added and enough quality of life. So, yeah, Animal Crossing New Leaf was a game that I played for very, very, very long time, and it's great. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, again, it could just be Mario Kart 8. I think it's the best Mario Kart ever made. I still get frustrated and very salty, but Deluxe on the Switch is the best Mario Kart, I think. And it's just a really good game. It's a good racing game, and it's Mario Kart, so of course it's on my list. I played a lot of it. We'll continue to do so eventually. This one is a cheating moment again, but Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. I often forget the differences between 1 and 2 because they're so similar and they came out so close to each other. 2 came out this decade, 1 didn't, right? So I should... that's a cheat then. 2 came out in 2010. Uh-oh. Hang on a minute, chat. We have, this is a stinky moment. Hang on. I don't know how I missed that. Can I save it? Let's see. Okay, I can't edit the slide now, so I'm gonna have to leave the slide up there. Sorry. You know what I can do? Just put that there. Alright, so Mario Galaxy 2, much like Mario Galaxy 1, is an excellent game. And it has a lot of really great ideas in it. I think I like it better overall, like the Mario Galaxy series. Slightly better than Odyssey, but Odyssey is in my honorable mentions. Odyssey's great, don't get me wrong, but there's so many moons that they're just less meaningful than when you go through a level in Galaxy and you feel like that sense of like, oh shit, I did it, I completed the level. Galaxy's great though, and I like... Oh, Rogue Squadron music, cool. I like it. Counter-Strike Global Offensive, it's just a game that I put many hours in. You'll see my top Steam games of how many hours I put in them, and this is up there. Is it the best shooter on the list? No. Is it the best shooter of the decade? I don't think so. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it is, but I love it. And when I get back into the game, when I play it a couple times, I get addicted, and then I end up playing for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Which may not sound like a lot, but for me it's a lot. And it's great. Counter-Strike, the original, and Source are both games that I put a lot of time into, and I think Global Offensive is fantastic. Red Dead Redemption 1. Don't get me wrong, 2 is not on my list. It might have gotten an honorable mention if it didn't drag its feet. It was so long and it felt clunky a little bit to control, but I still love 2. It's just that 1 told a really amazing story, and 1 blew me away when I first played it. It had to do with when I played it. I think 1 is still a better game than 2, but 2 is obviously way more in-depth and detailed. And so I love 1. 2's alright. I still think 2's a great game, and it's like a technical accomplishment times 10. But Red Dead Redemption 1 blew me away, and continues to. Speaking about video games, GTA 5. Video games from Rockstar in particular. It's just a game that, again, I spent a lot of time in. 4 I could have easily put somewhere in there, but I like 5 better than 4. 4 was a game that I played more multiplayer of, and 5 I just fucked around with constantly. Mods, you know, doing the online too, but mostly mods and single player. GTA 5 is a game that will continue. I mean, they're still releasing updates for the online. People still fucking play it, and it still looks amazing, and it still plays really well, so... But again, remember, chat, these are my opinions, and this is just how I feel. Bayonetta 2, I think, is one of the best character action games of all time. I like it a little bit more than DMC 5, which is why it's in my top. I can't explain it. I like Bayonetta 1. It would have been on my honorable mentions, but I'm gonna put 2 here, just because 2 is, for me, it was just so fun to play. Maybe it didn't have a better story, maybe it didn't do some things as well, but I liked it better, and I love the weapons. Great game. Slay the Spire. Yep. Slay the Sleeper is on my list, everybody. I couldn't believe that this game came out while I was playing Monster Hunter World, and I ended up stopping Monster Hunter World to play this. And I have many hours in Slay the Spire, and I continue to think it's one of the most addictive games. I don't even like card games, really. I don't play card games. Somehow, Slay the Spire was like, oh, you want to go and, like, enjoy your life? No. Why don't you play Slay the Spire for 5 hours straight? AM2R was the best Metroid game of the decade. That's another Metroid 2 remake. It's a fan game. What can I say? It was amazing. Samus Returns is not on my list. It dragged a bit. Again, good game. But AM2R was special, and you can tell that a fan really put a lot of love. Someone who loves the Metroid series put as much as they could into this, and it worked amazingly well. It's one of the best Metroid games of all time. So... Subnautica. I think this is my number 20, but again, no order. Subnautica, I played it at various stages of its completion, of its development, and by the time it was finished and I streamed it, it was one of the most memorable streams that I had done. The audience loved it, but I loved it. It scared me. It was addictive. It was fun to build a base. The exploration and finding, like, weird underwater, like, you know, trees and weird caves. It was unbelievable. So I'm looking forward to the Below Zero expansion. But Subnautica is one of my top 20 games of the decade, easily. So here's another unrelated picture of food. Someone said, someone said, what about Tamagotchi? Vinny, what about Kid Icarus? I forgot about Kid Icarus. Fuck! Okay. Someone said, what about Tamagotchi? Tamagotchi made for good streams, but it's not a fun game to play. You just talk and do things. It's a nice game, and people remember me for my streams of it, and they remember it for my streams of it. It is not one of my favorite games that I've played. Alright, here are... Because this is such a difficult thing to do, this is a very difficult thing to do, so I put a bunch more games. Here's some games that I had to put on the list. Now, why would I put Metal Gear Solid 5 on the list? It's because I have almost more hours in Metal Gear Solid 5 than any other game on the list. You'll see it when I show my Steam stuff. It's got problems. It's not the best Metal Gear game, but when I was playing it, I loved it. Let me put DMC5 twice. Oh my god. Yeah, DMC5 was so good, I put it on the list twice. Chat, replace the first DMC5 with Kid Icarus Uprising. I might have even put Uprising in my top 20, but I forgot about it. That's what I'm saying. This is such a difficult list to put together because I forgot so many games. Kid Icarus Uprising would probably be in my top 20, but those other games, it would be 21 probably. So here's a couple more. So The Witcher, I've never completed The Witcher, but I put enough time into it to realize why it was so good. Odyssey was great, Ocarina of Time 3D was great, even Majora's Mask 3D was great, but Ocarina of Time 3D was more faithful, so I put that one up there. Black Mesa I'm playing through now, already completed a while back. Dead Cells, Stardew Valley, Shovel Knight, Treasure Trove, that's the whole thing. Everything Shovel Knight, it's definitely there. DMC5 again, Dragon Quest, I'm loving it so much because it's one of the first JRPGs I've played in decades that I actually really connect with. Darkest Dungeon. What's that? You're missing some, Vin? Well, here you go. Soul Calibur 6, Splatoon 2, Kirby Planet Robobot. The Kirby one was a difficult one because Kirby Planet Robobot ended up being the best of the ones that came out this decade, I think. Triple Deluxe was cool, but Robobot was the one with the most style. I like that one. Enter the Gungeon, very similar to Isaac and you know, the addictive nature of it, but I think I liked Isaac enough for the top 20. Hollow Knight, definitely great. Skyrim, yes. Yes, even Skyrim is on my list, everybody. Cuphead. put Minecraft up there for my recent discovery of it, or rediscovery of it this year. Monster Hunter World is my favorite Monster Hunter game of the decade, and I know I'm a casual. Hat in Time was the best platformer of that style, I feel, of the decade. Titanfall 2, one of the best shooters of the decade. And Noita, just because it was so unique. I'll tell you what I missed. According to chat, I missed the following games. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Axiom Verge, Terraria. I'm very upset that those weren't on my list and that I forgot about them. You know what else wasn't on my list? DMC5. No, Baba, again, Baba was great, but I didn't end up putting it on this list. Again, I'm not really a professional, chat. This was just me coming up with this stuff today, so I missed some things, I got some stuff wrong. I also missed Risk of Rain 2, which I have here in my notebook, but I forgot to list. So, someone said no Spelunky. Watch the earlier part of the stream. What about Bloodborne? Again, watch the earlier part of the stream. What about Metal Gear Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance? It's great. Didn't make my list. New Vegas, I never played all the way to completion. I only played a little bit of New Vegas, chat. So, you know, people are saying Galgun, Mario 3D World. All great games. These are the ones that I could think of off the top of my head. What about No Man's Sky? Well, it depends on what era of No Man's Sky. There's so many. There's so many damn games, and there's so many versions of it. Again, let's do this real quick. This is the games of the decade only. Just do a recap for anyone just joining. And yes, I missed some, including Big Omission, Kid Icarus Uprising, Big Omission, Donkey Kong Country Returns, Tropical Freeze, Funky Kong's Funky Boogaloo, okay? Link Between Worlds was good too. Here is my most played games on Steam. Notice Rust isn't on my list, even though I have 163 hours in it. I think it was cool. Gary's Mod... Did that come out this decade? I don't even know. No, it didn't. Okay. So, you know, I stream for 4 hours a night every night, which means you have a list like this and you see like 90 hours, you're like, that's not a lot, Vin. It's a lot for me. So, you know, for me, this is a lot of hours, and that's why, again, Metal Gear Solid 5, 69 hours, I was like, nice. See, Terraria is on there. Is it one of my top games of the past decade? I'm not sure. These lists are real hard to make. So that is me doing the best I can. Apologies for the omissions. Thank you for reminding me, though, chat. Oh, wait. I have one more thing. Games is good. Thank you. Alright, now, Game Awards are about to begin in about 8 minutes, but I have one more bonus list. This won't be to everyone's liking. Someone said, what about Mother 3? That came out 2006. Has to have been a game that was released 2010 to 2019. So this is my top anime games of the past 10 years. No, this is my favorite albums of the decade. Here's 20 albums. I'm not going to explain all of them, but let's say maybe my number one might have been Plastic Beach. Maybe it's Tame Impala Lonerism. I'm not sure. Could be Little Dark Age. But these are my three that I had a hard time with. So those are some albums. Those are three. Here's number 4. Again, no particular order, but I'd say that the ones I listed, like these ones are probably closer to the top of my favorite albums. If anyone doesn't want to watch this bit of the stream, you can come back in about 6 minutes. Okay, so Queens of the Stone Age, Like Clockwork, I love that album. King Gizzard, this is the album that got me into Gizzard, I still think it's their best. Radiohead, Moon-Shaped Pool, Maybe not my favorite Radiohead album, but still a really, really fucking good one. Black Star was the best Bowie album that came out this decade, but I really like The Next Day. That's on my list too. Black Star is a little hard to listen to. Morning Phase is my favorite Beck album, and I feel like after Morning Phase, it just kind of went downhill a bit. I ended up revisiting this album, Damon's solo album, Everyday Robots, recently, and I thought maybe it wasn't as good as I remembered it because it came out at the right time in my life. No, it's real good. I love this album, and I'm glad to have it on my list because it's so fucking good. Speaking of Damon, he's on the list again with the Magic Whip. I got obsessed with this album, and I saw them live doing this album in a small little music hall in Brooklyn, and it solidified how much I love that album. It's not the best Blur album, but I think it's on my list. So yeah, just gonna go ahead and blow some giant smoke balls up Damon's ass. Pond, The Weather, that's my favorite Pond album of the decade, even though there were a lot of good ones. Wilco was a tough one because Star Wars was the one I listened to the most, and no, it's not about Star Wars at all, but Star Wars is the name of the album, and it's my favorite they put out this decade. Not my favorite Wilco, but a really, really good album, still worth listening to. It's got some catchy-ass songs on there. The Black Keys Brothers came out 2010. It's on there. I fucking love this album. Jack White's first solo album is the one that I feel has the most emotional resonance with me, and therefore it is on my list. I like it a lot. Arctic Monkeys AM. I was wondering, should I put Tranquility Base or the other albums, but AM is the one I listen to the most. Still love it. Again, Black Star is better, but The Next Day was still such a great album, and it was like the first Bowie album he put out in 10 years. And it was great. Unknown Mortal Orchestra 2. Again, I know my musical tastes are limited, chat. I know. You could probably list about 20,000 albums that were way more influential than the ones I like. These are just the ones I like. But 2 is a great album. Eagles of Death Metal, this is a fun album. It's just, I don't know, I really like it. It's catchy, good album. This is another, so Nonagon, let me restate this. Okay, Nonagon is what cemented me loving King Gizzard, but Flying Microtonal Banana was the album, the first songs like Rattlesnake and Nuclear Fusion that really opened the door to Gizzard. And number 20 is Innerspeaker by Tame Impala, which is their first album, and I love it. So Lonerism and Innerspeaker are on here. And here's one more kind of summation of some other albums I missed. Mac DeMarco's another one's the one I like the most. It's only 8 songs, but I love them. 9 Inch Nails put out a pretty great album. Pretty much everything Noel Gallagher put out in his solo career I really liked, but Who Built the Moon was the best. El Camino from the Black Keys. I love Currents, don't get me wrong. I just like the style of the first 2 albums better. Raconteurs, I don't know why that album connected with me, but it did. They just put it out this year. Daft Punk, Random Access Memories, loved it. David Byrne and St. Vincent, loved this giant, great album. Mac DeMarco again, King Gizzard, Infest the Rat's Nest, that's just this year. Queens of the Stone Age, Villains, another good one. Kurt Vile, that album ended up being a new discovery. I put Claypool, Lennon, Delirium, both albums. Both albums I like a lot. They're up there. Arctic Monkeys, Tranquility Base, Hotel and Casino. Not a lot of people love it. I don't like about half of it, but the half that I do like is... you saw my... my Wrapped on Spotify, and I just listened to those songs endlessly. Gorillaz Now I liked way better than Humans. Soundgarden, King Animal. It's not the best Soundgarden, but it is a great album, and it sucks that it's the last Soundgarden we'll ever get, but... MGMT, congratulations. I'm a newcomer to that album. It came out in 2010. It's fucking awesome, but it's hard to get into. Pond, Tasmania, most recent Pond album, and Django Django is their first record. So that was tough. Someone said no, Another Light. Imagine if I put my own album on my list. Dear God, I get made fun of relentlessly for that. But anyway, yes, thank you for this. I probably missed some albums, I probably missed some games, I know I missed games. This is a really tough thing to do. It's a really hard thing to wrap up an entire decade of stuff. So, thank you for watching and listening. Feel free to send me any hate mail regarding things that I may have missed. But if you liked my list, then good. It was a good 10 years of games and music and movies and stuff.